Hi, my name is Emily Rivera, and I am the host of Giant Steps Press Go Zoom. Happy National Poetry Month. Today we have the author Kirpal Gordon, who has written the book Lyrical Miracle, Homage to the Great American Songbook. This book was actually written during the pandemic, and since we can't go and do a reading for you today in person, we figured that we could do it via Zoom. So we're very grateful that we could do this for you today. Kirpal, if you'd like to introduce yourself and your book and what we should expect in today.
My name is Kirpal Gordon, and the book that I've just published with Giant Steps Press is called Lyrical Miracle, and it's a collection of poems I have written to musical song forms over many years, and we collected it in one book, and it's out, and I'm pleased to have the opportunity to read some of it along with some great music that inspired the pieces.
So first up, we have the poem Greasies, How I Got Here, with the soundtrack Funk Underneath by Rosanne Roland Kirk, performed by the Claire Daly Band.
Thrill me all day long in bluebird song. Thrill me all night till every wrong gets right strong. Then grill me with bright lights from disaster makers who can break you before breakfast. So I'm steadfast at long last, stilling what can be stilled on the one count. So make mine a double and neat. And as for the music, shape those notes sweetly, but get the funk underneath. Greasies, how I got here, and I don't just disappear when a broken axis runs friction's diction to a fiction made from fears. For the road already goes to Abraxas the whole way here. So you got the blues, well, we can mend that. Bend back notes and sack cities in the sinking of a woman's wink. For the night is alive with 1,000 eyes. But the secret of my midnight creep steeped in the funk underneath. Spell it a hoodoo hex or a lyrical miracle. But the blues hit me like a moving vehicle, a jet, straight up train wreck spectacles, call and answer canticle, lifting me from the edge of the grind I was strapped to, till I feel my way blindly into the real center point still, where nothing turns, though worlds burn, when colliding all of a piece complete with the funk underneath.
That was a great first reading of Lyrical Miracle, Homage to the Great American Songbook by Kirpal Gordon. The pieces depicted today are a great representation of how GSP brings together music, spirituality, and the art of learning. I noticed how in that piece, the book title, Lyrical Miracle, is mentioned in that poem.
Yeah, I couldn't get the homage to the Great American Songbook in there either, but at least I got the title in. And it's odd because I wrote that poem first because I played that Rosanne tune from Claire's band a million times and the words just emerged. And then, the team said, "What's the name of the book?" And so it became Lyrical Miracle. Yeah,
That's really
lucky. It's a lucky discovery and process, yes?
yes.
The other thing is that flute playing on that tune is so beautiful. You've played jazz flute. You know what I'm talking about. Would you take a chorus on what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely noticed the flute because I played it, so to me, it's just sticks right out to me. Definitely adds to the ambiance of the song, and I think it added to the piece very well.
So let's do another one.
Up next, we have What the Ancient Ones Say, accompanied by the tune Simone by Frank Foster and performed by the Claire Daly Band.
Find us in smoke and fog, the ancient ones say. Find us in mirrors and mirage. waving in a field's barley wheat. Find us under cerulean skies, melting sultry sunstreaks. Find us in doze rise, in crusts of barley bread broken, baked in hearts organ heat. In breezes lifting a magnolia bloom's red petticoat, find us unfurling into hummingbirds of ruby throat. With the light just right, with stardust essence in phosphorescence. And in our wingspan, ocean-spun fins open to dinosaur limbs, as your limbs open to your children. Where horns' golden notes float above an oak-lined creek, skylarks glide on the upswings, swallowing seeds indigestible to feed this forest complete. Not for granted, with the green fuse, sing through things so infinitesimally hide and seek discreet. Join us on the gusts, for wherever you open in wonder we are. The rain on the rise, the bread on the stove, the curve of a bird's wing meeting the bend in the road. And as the sea swallows the sun, find us in the shape night takes against the moon glow's ebb and flow, already shining, this blue within you. Yeah.
Great job, Kirpal. So my question for that piece is, why did you choose a Frank Foster song instead of a Rahsaan Roland Kirk song, like for the rest of the poems?
Well, let me say that the way Claire perceived the record, Rah Rah, was a tribute to Rahsaan. So it includes not only the songs that Rahsaan composed, but also things he loved to do. And that Frank Foster tune, my God, you hear that baritone saxophone of Claire's underneath it. You can feel the gold, you know? So to me, it was a great opportunity to talk about many generations and one flowing from another to another. And I thought that song was like this kind of eternal, optimistic openness. Am I overdoing it?
No, not at all. I know before we talked about Rahsaan Roland Kirk and how he was high energy and he had so many instruments. He's playing from his nose with the whistle. So I feel like that really does tie into the piece and the energy that you're talking about.
Yes, there's two ways always to do a tribute. One is to love the individual so much, but you don't imitate. And what I liked about Claire was she gave me a whole new way of hearing Rahsaan Roland Kirk, you know. And then one thing leads to another, and before you know it, you're writing tunes and you're in it really deeply.
So for our next piece, we have Appearances with the soundtrack Serenade to a Cuckoo by Rahsaan Roland Kirk and performed by the Claire Daly Band.
At the threshold of enfleshment, no one need remind us how Osiris gets ripped apart to be made whole again. So we're putting in a few appearances, swirling in the whirlwind, sounding out great rounds, rickety rattle of rock, scissors, stones, ghosts and old bones, scat rattling earthquakes, shakedown, to a trail underground. When club lights dim, our mistress of ceremonies begins, and as she opens the curtain, we see for certain the soul's 7 planes. We glean that whatever's left of our remains makes pilgrimage to Benares or Luxor, a turn toward Mecca or the other shore, shining the be-all grace of our original face. We may no longer recall. We lit our last incense stick when we saw that medicine woman slip through a door in the old adobe wall. The smoking wicks of our votive candles carrying in their wake the smell of autumn leaves ablaze, that we may look up, see the stars align, and know the circle's complete, even though we struggle with the life and death design. Though we can't forget the ones we've loved, how light shafts slit through woods to fleck their flesh in leafy shadow. Fire's red-orange roar sings who we finally are. Error burned up, ember's witness to a planet 3 stones from the sun. Scarecrow and the yellow moon. Pretty soon, the carnival on the edge of town. King Harvest has surely come.
So, Kirpal, how does the song Serenade tie into your piece appearances?
Well, I love that particular tune. To me, it's like got so much Americana in it. And it's just so beautifully done with the flute. The words really rolled out on that one too. This idea of looking at the fall, autumn, the leaves coming down, not as oh, it's the end, but it's the completion. And that's this idea that we're sometimes looking at life through only one lens. And this idea that we can look at the life as a question of completing things. That's kind of what I was after. To me, that song was saying all that.
That's really cool. So all of your songs, all of your poems, I mean, from your book is paired with a song. So like, what was that process like for you finding the right songs, or did you pick a song and write a poem to it? What did your process look like?
Here's how it generally works. I'll hear a song and then I'll have to play it 1,000 times, and then it's in my head for sometimes days or weeks until I write out this thing. I've worked to classical music and the blues and rock tunes and folk tunes. But I really have to say that what I have found is the Great American Songbook, those jazz standards that are with us for many generations. They are so elastic, so rich, so full of nuance. The songs themselves bring people's memories. So part of my job's already done just when the band plays the first, four bars. So once I figured out that that's what I had, that I could use the song as a kind of entrancer, and I could kind of whisper into that all kinds of secret messages. Once that began to happen, I really, really felt I was doing what I was called to do. They're no longer poems and they're no longer songs. They're this third thing that isn't all about the poet yakking away or the band yakking over the poet. It's about this coming together, the marriage of lyric and music. That's what New York City jazz musicians have given me. And I am absolutely 1000% grateful to have met all of these characters, amazing human beings who have inspired these words to come out of me. How did I do, Doctor?
Really good. That's really cool. So we have one more piece for everyone today. So lastly, we have The Mission of Tradition, accompanied by the theme for the Eulippians, music by Rosanne Roland Kirk, lyrics by Betty Niels, and performed by the Claire Daly Band.
He leaves with brass loafers talking Walter Whitman. Meet Rosanne Roland Kirk's minion of Eulippians to unite the mission of tradition for which I'm wishing. Bringing the dancer, poet, composer, and musician hidden within us to be ringing a bright moment's rendition. A volunteered slavery. It's a call for bravery. A round mound of light so unwavering, it never goes gently into that good night. So as not to lose the muse who refuse to be burned out in a Coney Island of our mind, singing a body electric shout. From outer space to Bonnet Place, the Crow and the Moor, and the Howard Hole all fall. talking about desolation like a weeknight 2 a.m. railroad station. And out comes free-spirited journey agent singers, and from the cradle endlessly rocking bringers to be what we got against the 1%'s hitmen. So lend your soul song and mend our democratic vista, Mr. Whitman. To better be showing our emperor's new clothing, we'd be needing a jester's gesture of circular breathing, meeting multi-reed blowing to nuke the proper goose cooked in the propaganda hooked on unknowing horns, booked knee deep in a worn-out mediocre. Props to Greybeard's eloquence, a free verse long line mind breath whose King James rhythms we can't dismiss any more than we could our inheritance. Why a caged bird sings and a monkey signifies a medicine to make us well again in a circle that be unbroken, aligned with a rebirth of wonder in a world sundered and unfree. Heal the blight, arrest the dead, and as for making little girls talk out of their heads, Bumbleclot Popschlock sells the big lie, while legions of Eulipians from the New York skyline cry of burning proof. Maggie is alive on a hot tin roof.
That is by far my favorite song out of all of the songs played for us today. But what exactly is a Eulipian?
It's a good question. Rasan was known to make up words or to combine words in his own remarkable, let's say, dialect. As I understand it, a Eulipian is a song maker, a joy deliverer, someone who can, a agent of change, who can remind you of what's really important in life. And what I've found the Eulipian side, it speaks both to the lyrics, which I quoted from Betty Neals, as well as the music. So it's the other thing that I should add, the third factor is Claire uses Montuno feeling to get that Eulipian sense across. And I think her and the band really delve into it. I wish we could have played not only the whole song, but the whole record. But I guess people will have to buy that.
So I noticed that throughout the piece, the song builds. Is that why you chose to pair it with the mission of the tradition?
Well, here's what really happened. I started to do that piece when Claire did an earlier record, and we toured with it. And I began to see that talking about politics without naming names, but this idea that democracy is really what we're about, connected very powerfully to me with my readings of Walt Whitman. So I thought, my God, Whitman and Rasan Roland Kirk Vibration Society members, they would be able to see a common link in the uniqueness of both personalities, as well as their both being incredibly driven to love freedom, which is what I think is the secret behind the American Songbook and why we should really call it the African American classical tradition. You know, no one knows, no one cries for freedom like the people who've been denied it, you know, in all walks of life and shades and colors and hues. And I think nothing can advance the fundamentals of our democracy more than this music, which is why I think the State Department years ago wisely put these people on tour all over the world. Rather than drop bombs, let's drop music on mothers. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is all we have for you today. It was great talking with you today, Kirpal, and thank you to the Claire Daly Band for letting us feature their music. Comment below what your favorite piece or poem from today was, or if you have another favorite that you would love to hear from us, put that down there as well. But thank you everybody for tuning in. If you enjoyed the poems from Lyrical Miracle or the songs from the Claire Daly Band, you could purchase those below from the Amazon links. But yeah, please follow us on Facebook to join us for our next reading.
May I add one more thing? When the pandemic's over, let's record the band with the tunes that our fans want us to record. I'm all
Yeah,
for doing that when the quarantine lifts entirely. Yeah.
yeah,
All right. Cool. Thanks.
yeah. So see you next time.